Hello, welcome to Hollywood Crime Scene. This is Rachel Fisher.
This is Desi Jedeikin. Hello.
Hi.
So today we are going to start a multi-part series on the quiz show scandals of the 1950s. Now, in a very strange coincidence, the great and very hot Robert Redford died today, and he directed the Oscar-nominated movie Quiz Show, starring Ralph Fiennes and John Turturro, which covers the story of the scandal involving the popular quiz show 21, which we will get into a little bit today and more next week. I just thought that was really weird, because that's how I knew about this scandal, was from that movie.
Yeah.
Robert Redford first saw 21 in the late 1950s when he was in his early 20s taking art and acting classes in New York. And he talked about when he first saw Charles Van Doren on the show. That's the guy Ralph Fiennes plays it in the movie. He said watching him and the other contestants was irresistible. The actor in me looked at the show and felt like I was watching other actors. It was too much to believe, but at the same time, I never doubted the show. I hadn't had evidence television could trick us, but the merchant mentality was already taking hold. And as we know now, there's little morality there. He also described the scandal as really the first in a series of scandals that left us numbed, unsure of what or who to believe. Obviously, he also starred in All the President's Men, which is about the breaking of the Watergate scandal. And I'm sure that was another scandal that left the nation unsure of what or who to believe. An interesting thing about it, though, obviously, the contestants weren't really the victims. They were making money, and the television viewers were hoodwinked into believing that this was like not fiction. This was real life drama that they were watching weekly. But they actually didn't seem to mind. A straw poll conducted at the time by the Miami Herald showed that the public was not outraged by these quiz hoaxes. Most Miamians wanted the shows back regardless of all that had taken place. One said, everything on TV is somewhat of a lie, but it's still entertainment. This is like so depressing and American to me, because it's like, who cares if it's true? Who cares if he's telling the truth? Like,
it's
do you know what
so
I'm saying?
American.
It's like nothing ever fucking changes. My main source is a book called Primetime and Misdemeanors, Investigating the 1950s TV Quiz Scandal by Joseph Stone, who is one of the prosecutors during this case, and Tim Yohn. I also watched an American Experience documentary called The Quiz Show Scandal and several old newspaper articles as well.
Now, Desi,
yes,
obviously 21, this television program, was before our times.
Yes.
Was this like the 1950s Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Kind of.
Kind of?
We're going to talk about one that's more close to that, but it's definitely in the Jeopardy, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, trivia-oriented kind of shows.
Okay.
So let's get started. By the 1950s, America had fallen in love with the television, a love affair we still build today. Initially, it was not affordable for everyone, but by 1955, over 50% of the homes in America had a TV. And one of the most popular types of shows were quiz shows, something that very successfully made the transfer from radio to the boob tube. These shows combined drama. You were watching ordinary people go for huge amounts of cash and prizes. They also provided a fantasy element, like, hey, that could be me. Like,
right.
You could answer the questions along with them. I'm sure we all did that watching Jeopardy growing up or whatever.
Love Jeopardy.
Guessing the puzzle on, what is it called? Wheel of Fortune.
Didn't like
all of
that.
kind. You didn't like Wheel of Fortune?
No, because it always came on right after Jeopardy, and it was sort of like...
It's a letdown. It's like for the wheel, it's like the dummy. Here's for the dummies.
Not Look, I didn't want to say it.
Yeah.
But I didn't like Wheel.
I did like Wheel when I was a kid.
Well,
when you used to be able to pick the furniture. They used to have this thing that would turn.
Oh, I know.
Remember?
Oh,
and you could be like, and you'd always have like $20 left, and you'd have to buy some like ceramic goose or something.
I will say that I liked Vanna as a kid because I liked seeing what kind of sparkly dress she was going to come out in.
I like the aesthetics of the show.
Same.
Like the squares with the green kind of mermaidy sort of background.
I think I just didn't like Pat Sajak.
No, he's annoying for
and
sure.
I did enjoy Jeopardy because it always made me feel smart.
Yeah, I mean, Jeopardy is so simple.
Yeah.
And I like Jeopardy too. I definitely had a period where I was very into it.
It was on at my house every single night it was on.
Well, the first massive quiz show hit was called the $64,000 Question. The idea for the show came from a 45-year-old producer named Louis Cowan. He created a longtime radio quiz show hit called Quiz Kids. He also created one called Stop the Music. That was another show I liked where you had to guess the song.
Yeah.
I love that. Years earlier, he had bought the rights to a popular radio show called Take It or Leave It. He just hadn't figured out how to repackage it for TV yet. In January of 1955, Lou Cohen took his Cohen or Cowan?
How's it spell?
Well, it's not spelled like Cohen. It's spelled C-O-W.
Cowan.
Yeah. He took his pitch to the Revlon headquarters. So back in the day, TV shows pretty much had to be sponsored by a company. They sort of paid to produce the show in exchange for the weekly advertising they got by having their name on it. And you had to get a sponsor on board before you could take your show to the network.
Yeah.
So this was a very common way of doing it. He's meeting with the top people at Revlon, including Charles Rebson, the founder, and his brother Martin Rebson, who was a high-up exec. Similar to today, we talk about this on the show a lot. All of these guys have executive brain.
Yes.
These guys are not very creative-minded, so you had to get really creative with your pitches when trying to sell an idea to them. Initially, he tries to pitch the show using a metaphor about Edward Hillary climbing Mount Everest, the first person to achieve that. He's comparing like watching contestants try to get to the top question. He's talking about the stakes, how week after week you're watching an ordinary Joe decide whether or not he should take the money he's already won or run. And, he could come back next week to possibly double it or lose everything. This is very similar to what you were saying, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah.
Like you can stop at any time or keep going, but then you risk losing everything.
Ugh.
I mean, I guess they had segments, right?
Yeah.
You would just go down to the next segment, but it could be a lot at the top level. So, like Take It or Leave It, it starts off with lower stakes and builds up. On the radio, the top tier, the winning was $64. The
$64.
Yeah. So the pitch is not going super well when he's explaining this to these guys. This is where he starts getting really nervous because he's about to tell the execs he wants to expand that figure to $64,000 for the television version of the program.
Now we're talking.
This would be the most money ever given away on a quiz show or any type of game show. And this was 20 times the average American salary. This is almost $800,000 in today's money. So this is a ton of money. So he dips back into his Everest metaphor and tells execs to imagine the headlines the day after the first contestant gets that grand prize, all the free press. And this is where the execs start seeing the dollar signs. It finally clicks with them. Ironically, this huge prize money, the thing that he was sort of the most nervous about telling them, was the thing that ended up getting them on board completely. They agreed to sponsor the $64,000 question. The first episode of the show airs on CBS June 5th, 1955. The show was designed to involve players and viewers in this drama. It extended 1 week to the next. It took 11 right answers to win it all. There were no multiple choices like you have on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
And no calling a friend.
No. So, did they have phones?
Desi. Yes.
Hello. Sending you a wire. They did have like high tech. They do like a lot of drama. So they have this IBM sorter, which was cutting edge technology at the time.
What?
That would find the first questions for the lower rounds.
Was it like beep, boop?
Yeah, it was like beep, boop, boop, and they would come out. But this was not picked randomly. These questions were all planned in advance. From the $1,000, $2,000, and $4,000 levels, contestants answered questions that were pulled from a New York manufacturer's trust bank vault protected by guards.
Oh my God.
After 4,000, the contestant went once a week. So these were huge moments with cliffhangers.
So this is like almost a serial. But
yes.
It's a game show.
It's a series. Yes. So it's kind of like Jeopardy. People come back, right?
But that's crazy. I mean, yeah, people do come back on Jeopardy and there's like, this is the reigning champion, but it's the game restarts. Like it's a new game when that person comes back. This is like the same game progressing over time with just one contestant.
I think they would have multiples.
Okay.
Because it wouldn't fill up enough time if someone's just answering one question a week.
That's so much drama.
Yes. And then when they were at the $8,000 and $16,000 levels, they entered an isolation booth that was soundproof with music being pumped in to drown out any answers that might be yelled from the audience. If the contestant answered the $32,000 question correctly, he was sent home for a week to consider whether or not to do the final question. Then he was brought back the next week, and that was the first thing they did. Will he be moving on to 64 or not?
Because if you get that wrong, your wife's probably really upset.
Right. And this level, you were permitted to get an advisor. So you kind of got a phone friend at this point.
Do you have any examples of like how hard?
Oh, we'll get into it.
Okay.
We're going to get into it.
Okay, good.
And this is way harder than Jeopardy. Like,
really?
Yeah. Way harder, in my opinion.
Okay.
So they do get an advisor, like I said, for the final question. These are like multi-parts, by the way, some of these final questions. It's not just one question.
Really?
Yeah. So by July, just a month after it premiered, the $64,000 question was the number one show on TV, beating out The Ed Sullivan Show and I Love Lucy. Because of this slow build on the show, people really started getting to know the contestants. They were like characters you grew to know or love on scripted shows. And as reality TV lovers, on this show, we all know how important casting is.
Yes.
On that type of show, and that any type of thing that involves real people, it's like the key to a successful show. Now, because of that, producers hired 5 people who worked full-time sorting through the 15 to 20,000 letters sent in a week from hopeful contestants. And they really wanted to find kind of ordinary men and women who had charisma, as well as some area of specialized knowledge that was sort of quirky or unexpected. They really wanted oddballs with unique stories on this show.
They wanted charisma, uniqueness,
yes,
nerve, and talent.
And trivia. The show's first guest was a man named Redmond O'Hanlon. He was a Staten Island policeman, and his expertise was Shakespeare. So people loved like, oh, this dummy knows about Shakespeare. It was like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he won $16,000. But the question he won on was the date of the printing of Shakespeare's first folio.
Oh.
So he knew that. And he achieved overnight fame on this show. Like he became a popular guest on lecture circuits. He wrote a book about on Shakespeare's puns.
What?
So he kind of had this little burst of fame from the show. There was another woman, a grandmother named Catherine Kreitzer. She specialized in the Bible. And she went on to read scripture on the Ed Sullivan Show. There was a little girl was on the show. They had kids too. Her name was Gloria Lockerman. She was a Black 12-year-old girl from Baltimore. She won $32,000 with her spelling abilities. She won $8,000 by spelling the word disestablishmentarianism.
Oh.
And that was $92,000.
Isn't that like the longest word?
It seems pretty long.
Because I remember kids back in school used to be like, can you spell disestablishmentarianism?
I think it became famous from this show.
That must be where it got famous.
It became like a famous thing. Like it was like one of those things where like it became like this word. Like we all know this word now. Like,
yeah.
So maybe that's how it started. There was also a cobbler, 5'4" cobbler from the Bronx named Gino Prado. He had an expertise in opera. He walked away with $32,000 after his father, who was still in Italy, told him he had won enough and should drop out. Therein lies the problem with the $64,000 question. After 2 months on the air, no one had went for the grand prize. Most who went far, up to $32,000, they would drop out. They'd take the money and leave. And producers and Revlon execs were beginning to worry that no one would win the grand prize.
You got to get a gambling addict.
Well, they go for that. And they were thinking people are going to lose interest if we don't get that grand prize winner. There's not going to be these Mount Everest like headlines. And Cowan was really beginning to feel pressure to get a winner. So he started talking to a producing friend of his named Mark Goodson. We all know that name from the Family Feud.
Yeah.
That's the name you always see in a lot of those like 90s, 80s like game shows, old game shows.
Mm-hmm.
So he was talking to Mark about like what his thoughts are on getting someone to go for the big prize. And Mark suggested that the possibility could be that the $64,000 prize pushed them into the next tax bracket. So in reality, the difference wasn't as much as it might seem, getting 32 and 64. So he thought contestants were mostly very bright people, had kind of gamed this out and realized the risk, just like statistically, it wasn't worth the risk.
Yeah.
To get like $4,000 more, right? So Cowan considers putting like maybe we should put wealthier contestants on who wouldn't care as much about money and might risk it. But then who's going to root for wealthy person to win more money?
Right.
Not many people. Then Goodson suggests something that Cowan considers unthinkable. He says, why don't you just give the contestant the answer to the final question?
Oh my God.
Cowan is like, that's unethical. And they kind of wrap up their meeting, and he doesn't really have any ideas going forward. But he continues to be pressured by Revlon execs to produce a winner. Luckily, he was rewarded with a vice presidency at CBS, and he leaves the show behind. So Martin Revson takes more of a lead role in the show, and this has proven to be a huge moneymaker for Revlon. In the first 6 months of the show, sales for Revlon increased 54%. The following year, their sales triple. So he brings on a guy who was already working on the show to take over as executive producer, Merton Copland. And he's immediately drawn into this Revlon lair and starts feeling pressured to get that winner. Revson has charts, and he shows how ratings peak with a popular contestant and dip with one viewers don't connect with. And now Revlon sees the success of this show as a direct connection to the continued growth and success of Revlon. So this is like business for them.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about anything else. Revlon all but tells Copland if he can't make it happen, then maybe Revlon needs to bring in new producers or perhaps sponsor a different show. So Copland begins to think about how easy it would be for him to rig the show. It's his job to not only select the questions, but to spend time with the contestants before a show, prepping them and preparing them on their topic. Of course, there's a lot of risk, though, because at any time a contestant could come forward and blow the whole thing. Like,
Yes.
You never know. He comes up with a kind of a compromise. When the show has a contestant that is great for ratings, Copland will spend tons of time with them, narrowing down their specific area of expertise within their chosen topic. So they all choose a topic when they go on this show. You're not doing it all across the board.
So this isn't like Jeopardy in that
it's one topic.
You have to prepare for multiple things.
No, you just have one topic. But that's why I think why the questions get super fucking hard and specific.
And so it's like, see how much you know about this.
Yes. So he's like gonna like see what their expertise is. And then he'll write the questions based on what their expertise is. So technically, he's not rigging the game. He's just being very focused on what they know and what the questions he writes are. Obviously, that doesn't still guarantee that someone will risk it all for $64,000. Now he starts looking for particular qualities while he's going through the applications to appear on the show who has this likability factor, as well as qualities that indicate they are willing to take risks. He thinks he stumbled upon the perfect candidate, a 28-year-old Marine named Richard McCutcheon. Now, obviously, back then, people loved a military guy.
Mm-hmm.
And in his mind, someone who's fought in wars is probably willing to take risks. They've seen a lot. They've risked things, etc. Now, Richard is set for the show, and as with all contestants, Copland spends time preparing them and prepping them the day before taping. McCutcheon's chosen topic is cooking. And during this session, he learns that McCutcheon has a specific expertise in British cuisine. And McCutcheon himself brings up a very specific famous royal meal during their prep, and Copland crafts his final question around this meal, knowing full well that he will ace it. On September 13th, 1955, Richard McCutcheon is at the $32,000 level. He's back live to make his decision whether or not he's going to go for $64K. The quizmaster, Hal March, asked him what he had decided, and he replied, "I've known my decision for a long time. I belong to a very proud organization, and the answer is go for it." Now, the studio audience loses their shit.
Is this the first time?
Yes.
And How long has the show been on the air at this point?
Just a few months.
So this is still
like maybe 3 months.
Oh my God.
So, but no one's even gone for it. So this is the first time someone's even gone for it.
Yeah.
So obviously all the producers are happy to see the audience like lose their shit. He's like, I've done everything I can to prepare him for success. As I mentioned, you get an advisor for this final question. And
what kind of advisor?
Well, you can pick anyone. So you can get an expert in the field. If they're willing to come on, you can get, and this guy gets his dad. I guess they're both experts on this subject.
Yeah.
So I'll get into something later, but people literally pick real life experts as well. So like I said,
and that's a lot of pressure for the advisor, because if they're like an expert and they get it wrong, there goes their career.
Absolutely. So this is his dad. So this could also ruin a family. They enter the soundproof booth so they can't hear the audience screaming any answers. And his question is 7 parts.
Oh my God.
Now, this is our area of expertise, and this is the meal that this guy mentioned during their prep. It is a banquet at Buckingham Palace that occurred on March 21st, 1939. It was in honor of President Albert Le Brun of France and his wife. They were the guest of King George VI and Queen Elizabeth. And he is asked to describe each of the courses on the menu. So, as I said, he gets advised. He's in this booth. He has 30 seconds in which to consider the 7-part answer and discuss it with his father. He's then told he would have another 30-second period if he wanted. But at the end of the first 30 seconds, he said he's ready to begin and starts rattling off the meal. So I'm going to go through the whole meal.
Awesome.
So he does a lot of dramatic pauses. He consults with his fathers, and then this is the order he answers them in. Consommé quenelle. A consommé is a broth of either meat, fish, or fowl. Quenelle is what's called a forcemeat, a meat, fish, or fowl dumpling. Filet de truite salmonée. This is trout, born hatched in fresh water, which migrated to the sea and returned. Steelhead, we call them in this country. He gives lots of details. Filet is boneless cut. Sauce Maltese is a hollandaise sauce with orange juice and a little orange peel in it. At this point, the spectators in the audience are like losing it because this is so stressful to them. None of them know these answers. So they're like, how could he? That's the thing. When you don't know something, you're like, who's going to know this?
Yeah.
It's kind of shocking. And the tension is like really strong in the studio. Next, he says petit pois à la française. This is little garden peas with onion chopped up with sugar and butter. Corbeille is a French word meaning either a basket of fruit or a basket of flowers. So I'm going to go with basket of fruit. Then he goes on to Chateau Guillaume, a dessert wine from Bordeaux, district of Sauternes. And people are like gasping because he's like so close. He has one more thing to get. Just before he answers the 7th part of the question, he says, "Can I have a minute on this, please?" And he confers with his father. And then he finally says, "And Madeira Cercial, a dry wine from the Madeira Islands. And the grapes are Cercial, and that's how it gets its name." Now,
so he's also spitting out facts about the food.
Yeah, like he's an expert in this meal. Which is weird.
It's weird, but it's also, this is what's remarkable to me is I could tell you offhand, just based on all the research and the episodes I did for the Titanic series, like what first class passengers ate, what second, whatever. I could tell you, I could rattle off a few things. I could not rattle off entire menus standing here today.
No, this is like an obsessive like expertise, right?
Yeah.
You're like talking about this so much. You're like, oh, of course I remember. And then for the wine, they had the da-da-da-da. Like,
and this is such a specific meal.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like...
It's so nerdy, too. It's like, why would you give a shit?
I don't know.
But I do appreciate this guy's obsession.
I get it.
Because it's very in line with us.
I get it.
So, obviously, any type of live show has this...
Can I just make one more statement? That meal doesn't sound that great. That banquet.
I'm not going to be that excited about trout. To be honest,
trout.
I'm not that excited about it as a meat. I'm sorry.
Is that the only meat they had?
Yeah, that's like the main course. I'm not for it. It's not for me.
I just think as a whole, the meal, there isn't anything on this menu where I'm like, oh, that sounds absolutely decadent.
I think the hollandaise sauce sounds good.
Well, yes.
With orange. That
Well,
sounds really good.
That does sound good.
And I do love peas. I'd be excited for the peas. I was like, but where's the dessert? I don't want a fruit basket. Give me fucking some kind of French dessert.
Bullshit.
So, as most of these live shows, they have like the applause signs and like the people getting the audience like hyped up. They didn't have to do that with this.
Yeah.
People lost their shit when they realized that he had won the $64,000 prize. He obviously, it's like this big finish. He goes up on stage with his wife and his mother. Everyone's like fucking happy. They're taking pictures. He tells the audience he will remain a Marine and he'll invest the money, putting it basically in the bank. The other person on the show that night was Myrtle Power. She was a 70-year-old housekeeper. Her expertise was baseball. And she answered a question that it was advancing her to the $32,000 question. Her question was, could she name the 5 sluggers who were struck out in succession by Carl Hubble during the 1934 All-Star Game? And she named them.
Oh, my God.
That's like a crazy specific.
That's so specific.
They were Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, and Joe Cronin. But that's so specific. So that's what I'm saying. These questions are fucking hard.
Yeah.
So they're kind of hoping now like more people are going to be tempted once they see this guy try for it. 55 million Americans watched the show that night. That's like a crazy.
That is staggering.
I mean,
to be fair, there wasn't a lot else on.
There wasn't a lot else on, but most of the shows we watch are like 4 million.
I know.
So it's like, especially with streaming, who the hell knows anymore? But this is a crazy, like almost everyone was watching this show that night.
Yeah.
And Copland is like, great. Like, this is a great formula. I'm ensuring a great show, and I'm maintaining a clearish conscience. Okay, let's take a break, and we'll be back with more. Now, as with most things, producers start getting greedy. It's one thing to encourage winners, but what about when you want to end a contestant's run on the show? That's when they would start picking out far tougher questions, flipping through possibilities written out on index cards, and even watching from control rooms, like making sure they didn't get something that they knew. So they would use these prep sessions now to see what they didn't know to try to get people out sometimes if they thought they were a dud or they had run their course.
Oh, no.
So if a contestant had worn out their welcome, the producers would find absurdly difficult questions to ensure their exit. One of the more famous ex-contestants that they tried this with was Dr. Joyce Brothers. Now, we all grew up with Dr. Joyce Brothers. She was on a lot of talk shows
and TV shows.
Yeah, she's kind of
like she was just making appearances places.
Yeah, I feel like we saw her on something recently.
She was on like Melrose Place.
Yes, it was Melrose Place because she hired Kimberly.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, I know we just talked about her.
She was on Melrose Place.
So obviously she's famous now as a TV psychologist, but in 1955, she was just another anonymous person trying to get her big break. At the time, her husband was making just $50 a month as a medical intern at Mount Sinai Hospital, and that really was not much to support them and their 3-year-old daughter. So she wanted to like break out of these conditions that they were living in, and she was driven to become a contestant on the game show, The $64,000 Question. So she had graduated from Cornell University before taking advanced degrees at Columbia in psychology. When she applies to go on the quiz show, she suggests that she could answer questions on homemaking or psychology, and the producers looked at her and were like, no,
homemaking.
That's what you are. We don't want that.
So they only want people who they aren't that for a profession. It's like their hobby.
They want it to be a twist. Like, look, this garbage truck guy is an expert on physics. Like,
right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right,
they want it to be like, what?
Yeah.
So obviously, like with the gender roles at the time, the producers like, why don't you try, you're such a like frail woman. It would be cool if you had an expertise in something more masculine. And he said that he suggested to her that she pick a topic on something that she shouldn't know about, like football, horse racing, or boxing.
So they're like casting this woman, but also
they did this a lot, suggesting topics. So she...
And then what, they read up on it for?
Well, basically, yeah. So her husband was a huge fan of boxing, so she went with boxing. Now, she spent the next month and a half memorizing facts about boxing. She studied 20-volume boxing encyclopedias. She read years' worth of Ring magazines, and she worked with a boxing writer, Nat Fleischer, and she also talked to a former Olympic boxing champion, Edward P.F. Egan. Now, it helps that Brothers has a photographic memory.
Oh, well, yes.
So she could just focus on learning everything she could about boxing, and she was basically an expert by the time she joined the show. Now, she appeared on the show and quickly made her way through the early rounds week by week. Producers weren't really feeling her, though, and they wanted her out. So on November 15th, they thought they had concocted a question that would stump her, but she barely had to think about her answer regarding the ring names of Rocco Marciano, Arnold Cream, Joseph Zakuska, and Noah Brusso. She quickly said Rocky Marciano, Jersey Joe Walcott, Jack Sharkey, and Tommy Burns. The producers were pissed.
Good for her.
I know. I'm excited for her. So they didn't slip the answers to her in any futures episodes. They wanted to take her down. They brought in experts to help concoct questions that were as close to impossible as could be for her. The suspense across the country was a lot, but people in the control room were even more tense because they didn't want her to win, which is really weird because who cares at that point? I guess they were just mad that she kind of foiled them.
They didn't think she had charisma.
No, they just thought she had cunt. I don't know why they didn't like her.
Well, the joke's on them because
I agree.
She grew to be a huge celebrity.
I agree. So on December 6, 1955, she's going for the $64,000 question, and she had a 6-part question to answer, ranging from what was the name of the glove worn by Roman gladiators, how long did the Dempsey-Firpo match last, and she answered them all correctly. She won the $64,000 prize. And one of the production staffers in the headset heard from the control room after she won, oh, shit. So her success on this show actually earned her a chance to be the color commentator for a CBS boxing match between Carmen Basilio and Sugar Ray Robinson. And she was the first female boxing commentator ever.
Oh, my God.
When asked boxing questions after her reign, she would refuse, protesting that her mind was like a sink. Once she was through with a collection of information, she opened the drain and forgot it, which is very relatable.
That happens to us.
Yeah. Oh, totally. We don't remember when we wrote a show.
It's so
I'm like,
true.
oh, I wrote that show.
I know.
A little less than a year later, the station capitalized on the show. They launched a spinoff called the $64,000 Challenge. This invited ex-$64,000 question contestants to come back and test their knowledge against challengers. And they also had celebrity contestants, including Vincent Price, who tested his knowledge about art against Edward G. Robinson. So in July of 1956, a little over a year after the first $64,000 question and had aired, $64,000 challenge and question were rated number 1 and 2 on television. And they were so successful, they drove one of the most respected shows of all time off the air, See It Now with Edward R. Murrow. So this is very America, too. Get rid of the quality stuff.
Of course.
Put more crap on TV.
Desi, what would be your area of expertise if you were cast on $64,000 question?
I thought of that. It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Because I could say food or cooking, but I also know a lot about TV.
Yeah, I feel like I would be I'm an expert in commercials that ran on MTV and Nickelodeon from 1990 to 1999.
Behind the music.
Ask me anything.
No, I would definitely be pop culture oriented.
Yeah, for sure.
Food, there's probably a lot of gaps on terminology and stuff that I don't know.
Right.
But pop culture would be easy for me to refresh.
Me too.
So obviously this success also launches a ton of copycat quiz shows. Everyone wants in on this. The major networks launched The Big Surprise, The Price is Right, Treasure Hunt, Dotto, amongst others. Yeah. Producer Dan Enright and Jack Barry just launched a show called Tic Tac Dough, which we had that. That was on in like the 80s and
Jeez.
90s. Tic-tac-toe.
Tic-tac-toe. That's so dumb.
Is that like Wink Martindale or something? That was on NBC. And they followed that up by creating a quiz show called 21, which is a quiz show twist on blackjack. Now, each show of 21, there are 2 contestants. They take turns answering trivia questions with different point values depending on their difficulty. And whoever is closest to 21 by the end of the round wins. So this is like, this is kind of Jeopardy. The subject is math. I would say I'll take a 1-point question, the easiest. So you're not going to get to 21 fast if you keep doing 1 point, but you don't want to get one wrong. So you have to kind of gauge your expertise in each. If they said behind the music, I'd go, give me a 10.
Yes.
Like it's that kind of thing. So it's back and forth. There's challengers, there's winners that stay on, and then they get challenged week after week, depending how long they last. So this gets a sponsorship. They get the Pharmaceutical Incorporates, the makers of Geritol. It's a very 1950s sponsorship. And this show gets picked up by NBC. It premieres in September of 1956, and the first episode is a flop. The sponsor is immediately threatening to bail, saying the show is a total dud and they don't want any part of it. Enright and Barry meet up. They discuss the issues with the show, how to fix it, and they both agree that the contestants are the problem. The contestants were not only boring in their opinion, but they were dumb. They were not answering any questions correctly. But easier questions wasn't the answer. People wanted to see a contestant challenged and succeed. They realized that the key to the $64,000 question success was that they had these characters that people were invested in, much like a soap opera. They thought of a successful contestant from their show, Tic-Tac-Doe, who was handsome and charismatic. He was a writer named Richard Jackman. Maybe they could get him on 21 to jumpstart things. Now, Barry worried that maybe Jackman didn't have the chops to win a hardcore trivia show. Tic-Tac-Doe had trivia, but you didn't have to be a brainiac to succeed at it. It was definitely like in the Wheel of Fortune, level. That wheelhouse. Enright suggested that he could quiz Jackman the day before taping, slipping in some of the real questions during prep to ensure his success. Barry pointed out the risk, like what if Jackman protests or even worse, says something live on air about there being some kind of mistake, saying he got those questions beforehand.
Oh my God.
And Enright kind of shrugs it off, saying he's a struggling writer. Who wouldn't want this huge windfall? Surely no one would pass up free money. And Barry is basically like, well, leave me out of it. I don't know anything. And he's the host, so he doesn't want to get called out mid-show. Jackman agrees to appear on the show, unaware that he's basically been handpicked to be the show's first big star winner. On October 3rd, 1956, Richard Jackman defeats 3 contestants, winning $24,000 and is a huge hit with the audience. But when he walks backstage after the taping ends, he grabs Enright and takes him into a hallway where they can speak privately. He's pissed. He confronts Enright about the questions being identical to the practice questions they had done the day before. Enright brushes it off and says, hey, he was just we're just giving you a little help. You probably would have won anyway. But unfortunately for him, Richard Jackman was one of those honest men who had integrity.
Look, I believe in honest and integrity, but if a television network wanted to give me $24,000 in 1956 money, hell yeah, I'd take it.
I mean, it's already done.
It's done.
But he said he would have never agreed to the scheme. He refused to take the money and told Enright to give it to charity or the contestants who were cheated. He then said that he would not return next week. He's done. So after days of talking to Richard Enright, he finally gets him to agree to take $15,000, and he'll announce his retirement on the next show, saying that he wants to leave with what he has rather than risking his money to win more. And Enright is basically relieved that this whole thing is over without it leaking. But he still has to deal with the fact that he needs to find compelling characters who can win and make the show successful. He realizes that to make a successful thing like this happen again, he can't risk another Richard Jackman. He has to find a contestant that is in on it from the beginning and is a willing participant. So he starts going through his stack of applicants, and he comes across a man named Herbert Stemple. Now, he is the exact opposite of the model good looks that Richard Jackman brought to the table. He is schlubby with glasses. He looks like a huge annoying nerd.
I mean, his name, Herbert Stempel. What is it? Stempel?
Stempel.
Herbert Stempel.
Now, this is
not a hot name.
No. This is who John Turturro plays in the movie.
Of course.
And John Turturro is hotter than this guy.
Well,
for
yes,
sure.
But I can see that them schlubbing him up.
The more Enright reads through his application, the more appealing he becomes. He's a struggling young father earning a degree at a city college. He would probably love the opportunity to earn a fuck ton of money, get some security for his wife and child. He's also genuinely brilliant. He's probably in the top 1% as far as IQ went, and he had one of the highest test scores Enright had ever seen from an applicant. They have to fill out a questionnaire of like 300 trivia questions or something. So he continues to ponder him as a contestant when he starts thinking about what he has learned as a fan of professional wrestling. Yes, people love to watch the hero succeed, but they almost love it more to watch the villain lose. Would people tune in week after week hoping to see an unappealing know-it-all finally get his comeuppance?
Oh my God.
Yes, Dan, people are fucking haters. This is a brilliant idea.
Oh my God. So they're screwing this guy.
Well, yeah, this Enright is like, hey, what about a heel? Like someone everyone can hate.
They're making Herbert the heel.
So he calls Stempel and arranged to meet.
Just because he's ugly.
And annoying. He calls Stempel and arranges to meet at Stempel's house almost immediately. They do a practice round of questions using this stack of trivia cards that Enright brings. And then at some point, Enright asks him how he'd like to walk away with $25,000 tomorrow. Herbert is confused initially, and he's like, you mean I could if I win? And Enright tells him it would be guaranteed. He then hands Herbert another stack of cards telling him, these are the answers for all the questions for tomorrow night. Herbert is shocked because he's like, wait, the show is rigged? Like he has no idea that this would even be something that's happening.
I would be so nervous that even if they gave me the questions, like the answers to the questions, I'd be so nervous I'd like forget some of them.
Right.
Like,
or I'd think I was being tricked in this moment. Like, do I have to do the right thing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Like, yeah.
He starts weighing his options. He obviously really needs the money. And he's like, he's the professional TV producer. Maybe this is just how it's done.
Yeah.
And we're all like not in the know. He's like, I'm being cast on a show like an actor. Like maybe that's how it works. He tells Enright he's in. And it's like he just won the lottery. He's elated. He's relieved for his family. They have a lot of financial stress. This money is huge. What he doesn't realize is that Enright has plans to make him the most hated man in quiz show history. And soon the country will be joined together in their hatred of him.
Oh my God.
And that's where we'll leave off. More next week.
Herbert Stempel.
It's so excessive what they do to make him even more unappealing.
Oh no.
Yeah. I know. Poor Herbert.
Oh my God.
He does kind of turn out to be an asshole too, though.
Okay.
So,
well,
but still, maybe it turned him.
That's still fucked.
Oh, the whole thing is
to
so
do that.
Crazy. Like so many people's lives get ruined and none of the producers really suffer any consequences.
Yeah.
Really.
I actually never saw the movie.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
It's a really good movie. I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I like things that are vintage, like set in like,
Right, because this is like a more modern movie that came out.
From the 90s.
Right.
Early 90s, I think. And I love Ralph Fiennes.
Yes, me too.
So, yeah, we'll get into what happens to Herbert
Stempel
next week. And we'll meet the Ralph Fiennes character, Charles Van Doren.
Is he hot?
Well, he's hotter than he's the foil. He's the hot foil to Stempel.
Yeah.
Or more traditionally good looking.
Because Ralph Fiennes is hot.
Ralph Fiennes is way hotter than the character he plays, for sure.
Like Ralph Fiennes made Shakespeare really hot.
I love Ralph Fiennes. I think he's really hot. He looks good now when he gets all old man muscly.
No, I love it.
He's one of the hottest.
Oh, look, there's certain guys who are like aging and they get really ripped and they get hotter, and sometimes it's like the opposite is true.
Right.
An example is Trent Reznor.
He should never have muscles.
No, Trent Reznor looks so hot, jacked.
Oh, he does?
Yes, Desi.
Oh, I didn't see him.
Google a picture of him now. I mean, he's like, it's not like he's like posting like fitness photos, but like when he's performing, you can see his arm is just like he's ripped.
Yeah. Okay. I thought he was like Jack LaLanne or something.
No, I just think that
he's beefy now.
He's right, but he keeps getting hotter. Trent Reznor.
Yeah, he looks good. I'm just going to say this because we're talking about Rip. Did you see the Ed Gein, Charlie Hunnam trailer?
I screamed. We got to talk about this for a minute. We'll talk more about it on the mini episode this week.
But the trailer looks insane.
The trailer for the new Ryan Murphy show about Ed Gein just came out. And obviously Desi and I have been talking about this since it was announced.
Yeah.
But the trailer recently came out and Charlie Hunnam is playing Ed Gein and they show him naked in the trailer and he is ripped. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Ed Gein was not ripped.
Ed Gein would have been getting pussy.
Ed Gein wouldn't have had to saw off pussies.
No, he would have been getting them.
He would have been getting real live ones.
No.
If he looked like that.
I mean, he's going to have to act his ass off.
I think
to make himself unappealing.
I think it was great casting, even though it's like, what? Just because I think Charlie Hunnam is going to work so hard for this.
I know he's going to do a great performance, but unfortunately, I'm sick enough to still find him attractive.
Oh, no. He's so
I'm still going to be attracted to him.
He's so hot.
No, the trailer looked so good. I'm like really excited to watch it.
Dude, that one in that scene where he turns around, he's wearing his mom's face.
Oh, dude.
I got chills.
I was like, that is so scary.
I know.
He still looks, his body was still popping. Even with the mask, he's dancing in that dress.
It's fucked up. It's so fucked up.
Ryan Murphy, this is his sickest.
Sick. This is his sickest.
How dare he? How dare he?
How dare you try and make
Think
Ed
of all
Gein
these young
hot.
people who are going to think Ed Gein is hot and then look him up
and be shocked.
It's going to be like quiz show. Their world is shattered. Their innocence is shattered.
Yeah, here's a PSA to all the young kids out there. Ed Gein was not hot in real life.
He wasn't even close to being hot.
He's
not even borderline.
No, not even like a would. Like, hear me out hot. Not even close.
No, he's just not.
Casting Charlie Hunnam in this role is wild, but I do like it.
I'm happy.
Insane.
I'm happy to have Charlie Hunnam on my screen.
Ugh,
anytime. Huge cat lover.
So hot.
I almost sent you this video of him talking about rescuing a cat.
Oh, that's so
Desi.
Cute. Oh,
he's such a cat guy.
I know.
Love it.
I love him.
Anyway, I just had to bring that up.
We'll talk more about it on the mini.
Bye.
Bye.